Good afternoon. It is a true pleasure to be here and see you all fighting financial crime from your respective positions. Now, I come from AML Center and I'm really proud to represent not one, but two public-private partnerships here today. What a fantastic opportunity, right? I've been having the pleasure of participating in many events dedicated to fighting financial crime, and there's one conclusion that we all come up with. Do you know what it is? That's we need to stop working in silos. We not, we agree, and then we go home. And the change seems to never happen. But public-private partnerships, including both mine that I'm employed by and EFIPPP, have been doing so much to make sure that that pattern is broken. So as I was generally offered to give a flash presentation, I'll try to do my best to showcase how we actually can do that and how we've been doing that for quite some time now. So I'll give you three principles how public-private partnerships actually are making themselves efficient and turn that talk into action, because believe me or not, talk itself doesn't automatically translate into action. Then I'll try to give you two examples of how AML Center and EFIPPP were reaching for results. And finally, I'll be glad if you take away one message from me that you can bring back home, and that message stays with you and your respected communities. So three principles, right? Well, believe me or not, trust comes before that. I know we are very eager to implement Article 75 of AML regulation, and we are talking quite a lot about it. But what we've seen from various platforms, from various events that we've been to, we need to establish trust before we start communicating data to each other. How to do that? Well, firstly, we need to bring people to the room and agree that in this particular situation, we're going to trust each other. That's not an easy task to do. And that was mentioned quite a lot by Olga, who is a fellow co-driver of the Cryptoassets Workstream with me. And if you establish this, that there's a trust, that we trust each other no matter for how long we have been in the room, whether we are a traditional financial institution, whether we are coming from crypto sector, law enforcement regulator, then we can start turning that conversation into action. If we have people talking and trusting each other, that's great. We are excited, but that doesn't turn into action and results. Believe me or not, we need to have something more. And I would like to call it my second principle, the accountability or leadership in the room. If we have these beautiful conversations where people share their knowledge, we agree that we need to do something about it, well, we need to follow up on that. As simple as that. We need to have a framework when we can talk on periodical occurrences, and we have to have that person who's following up and checking whether or not we're doing homework. Because there is a lot of homework when we want to influence the change. So public-private partnerships, such as AML Center or EFIPPP, actually are taking that leadership role in making sure that we are accountable for our conversation, that we are doing our homework, that we are implementing that change, or going back with that knowledge that we promised to share the previous meeting. So consistency and leadership in the room, having someone that is bridging the two sectors together, the different companies, the different authorities, and making sure that they stick to their words is element of efficiency. And finally, that leads to my third point of efficiency, the principle. We need to ensure that there's impact first before we scale it. We are excited, we have trust in the room, we have accountability, we are seeing impact. It could be very, very tempting to expand in the rapid pace. But what we've seen from practice, that small players, big players, everyone has to have a say. And believe me or not, sometimes these big frameworks can turn into showmanship or competition who has better position, and we are finally left with three opinions. We don't want that. We want everyone to be heard. We want to gather as much knowledge and as much of the puzzles of that huge, beautiful landscape that we want to see into one actionable plan. So if we have trust, if we have accountability, and we have impact, then we can scale it and we can make it effective. I know I promised 2 examples and I have only a few minutes left. So let's start with the first one from AML Center. We've been established in 2020. We are a young organization, but we are quite proud of what we already have achieved. We were established not just for the sake of establishing another entity that is there just for the sake of existing. We were established because of the situation that we had in Lithuania. We had a very, very mixed community of financial sector. We had fintech companies and we had crypto companies coming our way. We needed to make sure that all of these companies that were serving 30 million of customers, being 2.8 million population of the Lithuanian nation, we need to make sure that we see it all, we understand it all, and we have actionable plans for the future. That's how we moved to the speed, and that's how we started sharing information even before the Article 75. We started on the tactical level, sharing the typologies, and started building the information sharing platform for private to private sector entities. I'm really proud of what we already achieved, and we're looking forward and embracing that explanation that comes with the Article 75. Now, I know that time is limited, so I'm going to talk about EFIPPP. And I know that there's loads to be told about EFIPPP and how wonderful they have been to tackle financial crime. That's why they are there. There's 9 substreams, work streams, I'm sorry. We have Cryptoassets Workstream, where Olga and I were trying our best to make sure that we have even knowledge, that we are gaining more competence, that we're gaining more confidence in how we tackle financial crime and how we act as a collective community towards better landscape of knowledge, better understanding, and actionable efforts. So these 2 examples from EFIPPP and AML Center gives us the conclusion what we need to turn that talk into action. We need speed. That can be achieved when we are talking not only once, but we have a framework for that conversation with accountability. And when we have evened out the knowledge landscape, because when we have the old puzzles and we have the willingness to do it, we can do it. So if I have to give you one message that I would like you all to bring back home from this conference that comes from me, from the Baltics, from Lithuania, is that when you hear next time someone saying, well, we should stop working in silos, well, we already did. The patterns have been broken and we have public-private partnerships all over the place already doing that. So if we want to turn the conversations into action, maybe the first thing to do is to call your neighbor that not necessarily is the financial institution, but it could be a crypto company, it could be the law enforcement, and start talking to them and plan what we're going to do next. Thank you.